We're all loaded up. We're heading up to our friend Mark's house. He's the one that's going to help me install my new suspension. I did sleep last night, but just barely. I was super excited. So this has been a long time coming for me. I've been saving for a long time, and I can't believe it's finally happening. So we're gonna bring you along for the install. It won't be like a super like how-to kind of video. It's just gonna be a documenting it kind of video so that you guys can see what we've done and maybe see the transformation before and after. Because I think it's going to be pretty cool. I think, yeah. Also ordered my tires yesterday. We did change that a little bit. I actually stayed the same on the height of my tire. I went down in the width. I was a little worried about cramped wheel wells, and the size that we were thinking we wanted to get, the tire that I want, they don't have it in that size, if that makes sense, without going up in height. And I definitely didn't want to go up more in height than where I already am. It's going to be a fun day. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we're happy you are with us, and we'll see you on the other side.
As you can see here, with the exception of the hitch, everything was purchased at Z1 Off-Road. They were amazing in helping me put everything together.
Done yet?
As you can see, yep, I needed a lot of help in this rear suspension.
Right? Won't you help?
Won't
you help, Mikey?
Yep, help.
And I'm sure you guessed it, the front end needed help too. And that's where we're going to start. My flashlight skills are top notch. Finally, the upper control arm is removed and we disconnected the sway bar.
Make a note. Watch steering column.
I can insert a honk there.
Next was the removal of the old struts. And aren't they gorgeous? And here we're compressing the new struts, and aren't they gorgeous? This process was very scary for me. Very scary. The before and after was really crazy. Adding spacers is based on accessory weight. We've included detailed instructions on this in a link below.
Got everything out. It wasn't easy. The bolt for the upper control arm was facing that the steering column was completely in the way. Disconnect the steering column to get that bolt out. It was facing that it came out this way. But we're getting ready to put the new spring and strut in, or shock, and the new upper control arm. Also, we had to disconnect the sway bar to get that bolt out because it was facing the wrong way.
And the first strut is in. And here is my new upper control arm from Z1 Off-Road. They are fully adjustable with grease fittings. Our suspension mechanic will go into more detail about that later in the video.
You need an extra hand?
And here we have the upper control arm installed, and there is the grease fitting. Next, we move to the rear of the truck. We will be replacing the leaf springs, including shackles, shocks, and an aluminum gas tank skid plate. So pay attention here to the sway bar. We actually purchased a packer kit that will become necessary later in the install. So what are your thoughts? Do you think I needed a new gas tank skid plate? Yep, me too. Obviously, I'm replacing it with a Z1 Off-Road manufactured aluminum gas tank skid plate. Z1 Off-Road also produces an aluminum engine oil pan skid plate, transmission skid plate, transfer case skid plate, and they also produce a radiator skid plate which can be purchased in steel or aluminum. Here Mark is just removing all of the old parts on the rear suspension. And the new leaf springs go in. The addition of the beefier and degreasable shackles creates a little bit of a gap in that sway bar bracket, and that's where those packers come in handy. You put those in, and there's no gap. Then we installed the rear shocks. We also installed a CURT Class 3 trailer hitch and a trailer plug wiring kit. Brace yourselves. What? Oh my goodness. I'm so glad I did this. Holy moly.
So basically I wanted to show you, if you're trying to copy the illustration here, you can see the TPMS sensor is rounded here. Your little Allen locking screw is here on this side, which is the 2.5 millimeter on this side. So when you go to put this in the rim, it will actually get turned around like this. So this little screw will be on the inside, and just keep in mind that the circle part will be away from the valve. That will be the square side. As you can see here on this one here, this is facing the outside. This is actually needs to be flipped around so the little screw is on the inside of the rim. So a couple things to keep in mind. If you're replacing your TPMS sensors, check your hardware, make sure that they're nice and tight. For the apex, they suggest basically cutting 0.500 inches or 13 millimeters. So what I've done with this one here is this is 13 up to there basically, and then I just put like a piece of tape. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this at that tape mark, and then tape the other ones, and then we'll show you how this installs onto the actual valve itself. And this is for Japanese vehicles like the Toyota or Nissan. Vehicles such as that, you will need the adapter for the offset, which is basically looks like this, and we'll explain this a little bit further once we get to that part. So the first thing I just wanted to point out is I basically like to put this all in finger tight and just get it pretty much in place so I know where it's going to sit. And this almost sits, it basically just sits against the rim. Then I kind of come in with the 14 millimeter and I tighten this up so it's hand snug. Once that's done, make sure this is in the right position. We've already checked that and it's tight. And since this is cut longer, you have lots of room to go up and down. So you just kind of just place it in there, and then from there you just take your little 2.5 millimeter Allen, and then you would just start tightening up your little screw. And that's it.
After my suspension upgrades, I upgraded my tires, and then we took it in for the alignment.
So originally it had a cam bolt here to where you could adjust the camber from the lower, but when you put the lift kit on, generally you want a little bit wider of a wheelbase, or width-wise, so you'll basically lock this in to where this bolt is the furthest out from the center, because originally this hole is slotted, and now with this square tab in there, it's not slotted anymore. Basically it locks it into place. So by doing this, you move all the adjustments to the upper A arm, which at this point makes it kind of easy. So the benefits of this is, in order to get, when you want alignment, you basically want the camber to be at 0, which is the tires sitting flat out towards you. And with this, you can adjust, once you loosen, there's 2 sets of locking set up to this. So there's a set of pinch bolts that locks this adjuster in here, and then there's a jam nut on the back side of this that locks the heim joint into the adjuster. So whenever you adjust these, make sure that these pinch bolts get tightened and the jam nuts get tightened as well on both sides. So by having this here, I can adjust this upper A arm to where I can bring it out if I need it to adjust more camber. I can bring it in if I need more camber. If I want to give you more caster, I can adjust this one in and this one out, and it's basically going to move the center line of this back or forward. So it kind of gives you infinite adjustment on the alignment setup.
And then what are the benefits of basically going with an adjustable and the lockouts?
So by moving everything up here, so generally the Toyotas have a big problem with the cam bolts at the bottom, is they will loosen up over time and they'll start moving around there and they'll bust out the locking tabs that kind of hold them in place in here, this tab and this tab. So by getting rid of the adjustment here and moving it all up here, you're kind of making it a little bit safer at the bottom, just because you don't have the rocks and stuff hitting it, trying to move that stuff out of alignment as easy.
With this suspension kit, I got an increase in lift of about 3.5 inches in the rear and 2.25 in the front. So here we are, all finished. New tires, Falcon Wild Peak AT4s. Love them. This was a long process for me, and I'm not a patient person, but it was worth every minute. I am in love with my truck. Well, I hope you all found that as exciting as I did, because truthfully, that install was like at the tippy top of my overlanding bucket list. So a few little things I wanted to recap after you guys watched the video. I made the choices I made because I actually consulted with professionals. I talked to the guys at Z1 Off-Road, and one of the first questions they asked me was, what are you going to be doing with your rig? So if you've seen any of their videos, they do some extreme things. They rock crawl, they do some very extreme things. Well, that's really not my jam. So when we started talking, it was very quickly brought to my attention that that really should be the focus. What are you going to do with your rig? And they led me down the path of, this is really all you need. That was a game changer for me, because it was very daunting for me, because when you start talking to other people, they start saying their opinions, which are great, but it's their opinion. And then you start thinking you need all these things, and you don't always need all the things. So the other thing that I really appreciated about Z1 Off-Road is their website is very comprehensive. So if you think you want a part, or you're thinking about a part, you can go there, you can look up the part. There's a very detailed description of the part, and then there's also install instructions that you can download. It's a PDF, which is also, to me, a game changer. I know our mechanic really appreciated, and he is a master mechanic, but we were dealing with components that he'd really never worked with before. So that I found very helpful. The other thing I wanted to touch on was when they recommended the Old Man Emu, my shocks and my struts and my leaf springs. That was actually a no-brainer for me, because Mark has been running Old Man Emu on his truck for over a year, and he's been really happy with it. And he's kind of a tough critic. You know, he really does put things to the test, and he doesn't just say, well, I paid for it, so I'm going to keep it. So for me, that was a little bit of like assurance that this is going to work out for me. And, you know, the bottom line is, if you're thinking about doing it, do it. A lot of the things I did, I had to do. My shocks were 14 years old. My skid plate, which you saw in the video, was 14 years old. It had seen a lot of, I guess, adventures. But if you're thinking about doing it just because you want to do it, just do it. But really ask yourself the question, why am I doing it? What do I plan on doing with my rig? And I think you won't go wrong. I really think you won't go wrong. So I hope you enjoyed this install video. Like I said, it was just to show you what we did. It wasn't really a how-to. But if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Reach out to us through email or social media. All of the links are in the description of all of the products that we've used. There is a dedicated Xterra page on our website that we will be embellishing. We'll be putting more things on there as we you know, get the time to do it. So anything that you have questions about, it'll all be there as well. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you down the trail.